woman who wrote the entire movie, the script of It Ends With Us. So Blake Lively actually wrote a letter to the girl who wrote the script for It Ends With Us. And this is what she says. I hope you're enjoying the immense success of this weekend and for what it means for stories about women, by women in film. I heard you were ambushed at your junket with a question about something I said on the red carpet, meaning my husband wrote the whole rooftop scene. I feel awful. I never would have said anything that I thought could be used against you or anyone. I was just proud of my partner and feeling grateful for the ways in which he shows up for me. I believe firmly that two things can be true. In this case, he can show up for me and do great work doing so, and you can do great work which got us all here. I know, y'all. But the media will make things more black and white because it is black and white, isn't it? And I should have seen that before speaking off the cuff. I was frazzled for a multitude of reasons that you may know something about or not. The S harassment, I'm guessing, and all the negative, stuff that's happening on the social media. But in that moment, all I was trying to focus on was love and positivity. And the key source of that for me is my family, which is why it was a crutch for me to talk about him. I'm mortified how that translated with regard to you, though. I pride myself in being thoughtful and trying not to step in landmines, but I did. It was such an unavoidable own goal, and I'm so sorry for any upset or hurt it may have caused you or left you feeling badly in any way. That was never my intention. I was thinking about audiences loving real life. Love, and seeing that on screen is inspiring. I should have been holding all of that and you while speaking publicly and didn't do that. I'm sorry. So I'm going to conclude by saying this. This is what she says in the letter, which is, she says, I spoke about you during the many days of junkets. But of course, the one that gets shared back to you is the one where I give my husband credit for the invisible work he did on this movie. What other invisible work has Ryan Reynolds be doing in this movie? So this is the letter that was on August 11th. So she's just basically saying, you did great. I did great. My husband was also involved. I can't believe they turned it into something that it wasn't, even though it actually is. So yes, y'all, we are going to be talking about the amended complaint. Buckle up. There's a lot to discuss, okay? And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Y'all know I am an impartial person here. I am a person who's looking at this entire thing like a puzzle. Why, you might say? Because we don't know the truth. Now, we all have critical thinking skills and we can put A and one together to make two, but we technically don't know the truth. And number two, I'm also a fan of them both. I was a fan of Blake Lively in Sister of the Traveling Pants, and I'm a fan of Justin Baldoni in Jane the Virgin. And also, I'm learning as a person who's been a massive consumer of media her entire life, and media has played, and TV shows and these type of mediums and movies have played a huge part in my life. I'm learning, the intricacies of movie making and TV show making. Now, with that being said, I want to preface all of this by saying I read the amended complaint. Okay, it's 141 pages by Blake Lively. There is this complaint. Yes, she doesn't add anything new other than her saying that she has two people that will be stating and will be witnesses on her behalf in trial. She did say that. She doesn't name the two individuals, but she quotes them very loosely all throughout the amended complaint. Now, I'm very annoyed by the amended complaint because I like how Brian Friedman frames the amended complaint in the sense that there are actual text messages, and we can see you can't really change text messages, right? You can take a screenshot and add it. This like blue bubbles and gray bubbles of like text is so freaking annoying. And that's what Blake Lively has done in her complaint and her lawsuit documents. So that's really annoying. So I hate the fact that she's like loosely saying all these things, and she said that she's going to be giving her actual text messages in the actual discovery, which basically means the people that she's been texting to hasn't given her permission or consent to showcase the text messages between them and her. That's basically what it says. And this is also really bad for Justin Baldoni. And I'm going to outline. I'm going to be black and white. I will be black and white here. There are a lot of gray, but there's also a lot of black and white. Okay? As y'all know, what I like to do, I like to go through the complaint and talk about the new things, or the things that have been expanded, or the things that we should focus a greater attention on. Again, the amended complaint doesn't have anything new, but what Blake Lively did for the most part is basically just expand on things. And she did go back and she kind of like changed things, but she really expanded on a lot of things. Okay. So let's get into it. We have a lot to discuss. If you want to follow me, definitely do that. Just Google Blake Lively's amended complaint deadline, and you'll have the deadline version. The complaint references exhibits like Exhibit A, Exhibit C, Exhibit D. The deadline version that I have does not have the exhibit, so I don't know where I can get the exhibits. If y'all know where I can get the exhibits that they reference, please leave it in the comments down below. Now, I'm going to go I listed by paragraphs here because it's easier for me to slice through it. I was doing it by page number, and I have to like find the paragraph that I was actually referencing. It's kind of annoying. Before we go into, I also have Jed Wallace's complaint, 10-page lawsuit. Let me know if you guys want me to go through that. Okay, the civil action. Jed Wallace is suing Blake Lively. Blake Lively included Jed Wallace in the amended complaint. Jed Wallace is basically he owns a Street Relations Inc. is a crisis mitigation firm engaged by clients to help navigate real-life human crisis, threats, trauma, mental health concerns. It helps primarily families and individuals when they find themselves unjustly attacked, extorted, doxxed, swatted, scammed, or need help navigating through the most frightening situations. So that's the first paragraph in the civil lawsuit. So I just happen to have that my research. So now we're just going to go to paragraph 29. Okay, so we're going to paragraph 29, and a lot of her amended complaint is again a lot of it includes a lot of the original, so that makes sense. So she expands on it. So this is paragraph 29. So paragraph 29 says this is in regards to Justin Baldoni's crisis social media strategy. So on July 31st, 2024, following the recommendations of their publicist, Jennifer Abel Wafer and Mr. Baldoni related a crisis communication specialist named Melissa Nathan, as we all know, and her company, the agency group. Ms. Nathan delivered a proposal to Mr. Baldoni, which included a website to discuss, full Reddit, full social account takedowns, full crisis team on hand for everything, engage with audiences in the right way, start threads of theories and discuss, which I'm going to talk about next. And I think Jed Wallace's plan, when they hired Jed Wallace, they actually included an Exhibit D. Again, if y'all know where I can find Exhibit D, let me know. So start threads of theories. This is the way to be fully 100% protected. Ms. Nathan also proposed the creation of social fan engagement to go back and forth with any negative accounts, helping to change narrative and stay on track. Per Miss Nathan, quote, all of this will be most importantly on track and traceable. Miss Abel described it. The plan was to engage in social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the negative as well as social manipulation. So I wanted to highlight this because this was I had a list of things that was still unanswered from all of this, right? One of it was, what does Melissa Nathan and what does Jed Wallace actually do? So this gives us an insight on what they actually do. So they engage with audiences, trying to change the narrative, confuse the narrative, start threads of theories, and basically respond to negative accounts. Excuse me. So now we're going to go to paragraph 205, because the theories that was referenced by Melissa Nathan was actually referenced in Jed Wallace's action plan of attack, in terms of what he wanted to recommend and what he wanted to do for Justice Baldoni. So I'm just scrolling to that. I'm going to be jumping in and out here. So page 205, we have the scenario planning document. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. So scenario planning, it ends with us. And that is for Mr. Baldoni. So this is the conversation. So on August 2nd, 2024, Ms. Nathan, Mr. Baldoni, Ms. Abel, others had a phone call to discuss the services that Ms. Nathan and TAG would provide for Mr. Baldoni and Wafer. Okay. So others had phone call to discuss the service that Ms. Nathan and TAG would provide for Mr. Baldoni and Wafer. Yeah. So TAG is Jed Wallace. Okay, so TAG circulated a document to Mr. Baldoni and others entitled Scenario Planning, It Ends With Us. So in paragraph 205, it talks about this. It talks about TAG's recommendations to get ahead of this narrative, right? This included suggesting misleading messaging that, one, production members lost their jobs due to Miss Lively's takeover and insisted upon involvement. You know, that was a theory. 2, Miss Lively involved her husband to create an imbalance of power between her and Mr. Baldoni. 3, Miss Lively has a less than favorable reputation in the industry. And 4, Miss Lively had a clear, likely motive to bully her way into buying the rights for it. It starts with us. So these are theories that are not really fabricated. They're already out there in the ether, right? Miss Lively already made a move to try to buy the remaining rights of the movie from Justice Baldoni. Justice Baldoni said no. Everybody knows that Blake Lively has a reputation of not being great to work with. We all know that Ryan Reynolds was involved in the movie. Doesn't have a favorable reputation. So all of these are not defamation per se, because these are theories that people already know and they have of Blake Lively. These are things that people say about Blake Lively already. So, you know, the reason why Jed Wallace is involved is because Blake Lively initially named Jed Wallace in the original complaint, right? And then once they deposed Jed Wallace and they got information and realized, oh, we should not have included Jed Wallace and his company in his complaint because they didn't give us anything. But Jed Wallace is like, the fact that you included me, everybody knew it was me. You dragged my name and you dragged my business, so I'm going to sue you. Hence the 10-page lawsuit. So Jed Wallace is now suing Blake Lively. Blake Lively then ends up suing Jed Wallace and including him in the documents again. So there's that. So I guess what they do is, what the crisis PR does is respond to negative stuff and then circulate theories. That's what they do on social media, I think. That's what I'm getting from these documents, okay? Paragraph 50, we're going back. So we're talking about, now this is kind of insane to say. So Blake Lively in the amended complaint says that Justin Baldoni leaked. Well, I was reading this in bed and I'm like, what in the world are you guys talking about? So let me read to you. So it's paragraph 50. In her opening complaint, Ms. Lively noted that she is informed and believes that Mr. Baldoni and his associates have additional astrosurfing plans that they have prepared and ready to launch at moment's notice, which I honestly do not agree that there was any astrosurfing to begin with. That's based off of what I've read so far. That is precisely what occurred starting the moment that Ms. Lively sent a cease and desist letter to defendants on December 20th, 2024, including with it a copy of her administrative complaint filed with the California Civil Rights Department. So Blake Lively is saying that Justin Baldoni actually got a copy of the complaint that the New York Times ended up publishing on Christmas Day or Boxing Day. I don't know when it was. Anyways, y'all know. Upon receiving the cease and desist letter and the complaint, defendants leaked the administrative complaint to certain hand-selected publications to get ahead of it. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? So you're saying to me, like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, because in the New York Times letter, the New York Times reached out to just because my brain is remembering. The New York Times representative, the reporter who actually wrote the article, and the New York Times reached out to Justin Baldoni and said, "Hey, how you doing? We got a copy of the amended complaint. Could you please respond?" This makes no absolute sense to me. Okay? Unless what they're trying to say is that they got the complaint, they reached out to publication to see if they have a copy of it. The publications are like, no, but do you want to send it to me? Maybe that's what they're saying, but that's insane to say, right? So defendants leaked the administrative complaint to certain hand-selected publications to get ahead of it, gave numerous statements to the press, including blatantly false and defamatory factual allegations, and began a near-daily media and social media blitz aimed at discrediting Miss Lively and Miss Lively's longtime publicist, Mr. Reynolds, Disney, the New York Times, and more. How in the world did Justin Baldoni do that? How did Justin Baldoni defame Disney? Why is Disney involved? How did he? On information and belief, all defendants actively participated in this enhanced retaliation, which is kind of insane. So I just want to bring that up. The fact that they're saying that actually they had a copy of the complaint and they leaked it to publications is actually kind of insane. So now we're going on to paragraph 80 to 82. And in this, we are talking about so remember when I had a video and I said that Justin may be in trouble if Justin did not tell Blake that this is what he was going to be doing in certain intimate scenes. So, for instance, the dancing scene. Did you tell Blake that you'll be kissing her mouth or almost touching her lips, kissing her neck, biting her ears? Like, did you tell Blake that, right? And I was right. Allegedly. If that's what Blake is saying. Blake is saying Justin improvised a lot of the intimate scenes. So paragraph 80, without these protections in place, Mr. Baldoni improvised physical intimacy that had not been rehearsed, choreographed, or discussed with Miss Lively, with no intimacy coordinator involved. For instance, Mr. Baldoni discreetly bit and sucked on Miss Lively's lower lip during a scene in which he improvised numerous kisses on each take that were not pre-approved in the script, and without any intimacy coordinator. Mr. Baldoni insisted on shooting the full scene over and over again, well beyond what would have been required on an ordinary set. It was 10 minutes. It was a 10-minute video, unless there's more to the video, but all we saw was 10 minutes. So I don't know what you mean by over and over again. It was like 2 or 3 takes, I think, right? And without advance notice, conversation, or consent. On another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage scene, meaning that none of the sound was recorded while filming the scene. It was meant to be used in the film. Music was intended to play over the action of the dancing. Nonetheless, microphones were live to pick up room tone, but not conversations or dialogue to be used in the film. The scene in the script specifically described dancing without dialogue and did not include any intimate conduct or kissing. So they include a paragraph in the script that basically says, Lily and Ryle slow dance in the bar, patrons around them drinking and watching sports completely in their own world. Paragraph 82. Mr. Baldoni did not provide notice or seek consent for any intimacy in advance. And says, this is what I said. This is what I hinted. Because I'm pretty sure, I understand you need to act. I understand your actor is supposed to act. If you don't want to do something, then say it in the moment. Say it in the moment. Say you don't want to do it. And say that this is not what you discussed. You need to tell me in advance that this is what we're going to do. You can't just say we're going to do A and then end up doing Z, right? It still ends up being non-consensual, I believe. I'm not in the biz. I'm not an actor. I'm not in the industry, so I wouldn't know. But that's what I'm getting from this. So Mr. Baldoni did not provide notice or seek consent for any intimacy in advance. Instead, Mr. Baldoni chose to spontaneously improvise the scene while the cameras were rolling. During the filming, Mr. Baldoni repeatedly leaned in toward Miss Lively's, attempting to kiss her, kissing her forehead, rubbing his face and mouth against her neck, putting his thumb to her mouth and flicking her lower lip, caressing her, telling her how good she smells. None of this took place while Mr. Baldoni was in character. Well, he was in character. We saw it on screen. But anyways, as Ryle, because both the intimacy and dialogue departed from what had been agreed upon in the script. Okay. So they're saying that it was they discussed this prior. Okay. Miss Lively was uncomfortable and kept leaning away and repeatedly suggesting and then begging that their characters should just talk. She tried to use levity and creative pleas to deflect the unwanted touching, hoping to get through the scene in a way that maintained a professional boundary without antagonizing Mr. Baldoni. So we know that. So that's what happened. So that's what they're saying. Basically, what I guessed what was happening, which was I don't think Justin Baldoni asked for permission that he was going to be doing all that in the scene, right? But then again, you could have just assumed that it's improvising. But then again, it's not consensual. But then again, you're acting. But then again, I think for intimacy scenes, you need to, every single actor and person needs to know what's going on in those scenes. So you can go back and forth here. Again, I'm not an expert in the biz. I'm just trying to understand what's going on. So, okay. So page 84, paragraph 84 to 85. So this, what I thought it was insane. Blake is basically saying that Justin can't just like automatically add scenes to the script. I'm like, girl, you were editing the script of the movie yourself as the production was going. You can like, but Blake is saying by Justin adding the scenes to the movie, he was being a creep. And also she said this is not what she agreed upon when she signed the contract. Well, Justin didn't agree for you to change the entire script and change scenes when he hired you too. So it's like I'm reading this and I'm like, girl, you're joking, right? Miss Lively complained about inappropriate behavior as early as May of 2023, which occurred without an intimacy coordinator present, and which ultimately led to the Wayfarer and Sony agreeing with Miss Lively that the consistent presence of an intimacy coordinator was not only reasonable but essential. Contrary to defendants' assertions elsewhere, Miss Lively did not refuse to meet the film's intimacy coordinator. She said she did not need to meet with her before production started because so again, they love this entire amended lawsuit. The complaint is all about her adding and expanding. Oh, she did not say she did not want to meet with the coordinator. She just didn't want to meet with the coordinator at that time. Okay, girl. This is what they're saying. Miss Lively did have a call with the intimacy coordinator during preparations. Those conversations happened close in time to the filming of the relevant scenes. Elsewhere, Mr. Baldoni has blamed the intimacy coordinator for supposedly writing graphic new sex scenes, including foreplay and orgasms, and talking about a clit. But Miss Lively consented to the sex scenes in the script as writing at the time she signed. But Miss Lively consented to the sex scenes in the script as written at the time she signed onto the film. So this is the thing, like, but Blake herself is also editing the movie. Like, it doesn't make any actual sense. You're editing the scenes of the movie too, Blake. So, okay, I don't understand what you're trying to say. But I understand there are some actors who do not want to do nudity scenes. And my new barometer is there is what's that actor who plays Crybaby baby girl. Oh my god. Nicole Kidman. That's the extreme end of nudity. Nicole Kidman, and like it would be like, I don't know. Ooh. Mandy, no, not Mandy. Well, Mandy Moore. Mandy Moore doesn't do any nudity, right? She does not do any. Does she do any nudity? Mindy Kaling. So it's like that's the scale, like Mindy Kaling, and then like Nicole Kidman, right? So, but the thing is, my sister was telling me, because I was trying to read the book. I was reading the book, and my sister was telling me that the book actually has like really graphic sex scenes, like really, really, really graphic sex scenes. So I'm reading the book, and I'm like, like really graphic, like, you know, domestic violence, DV, sex scenes. So it's like, do I really want to read a book about that? So I stopped reading it, honestly, guys. But I think that's what Justin Baldoni was trying to do, trying to include those sex scenes. Because if Blake can edit the movie as we go along, he's like, I want to add more sex scenes to make it more authentic to the actual book. If I were to think like Justin, and if I were to think like Blake, listen, I'm an actor, can only do so much when the sex scenes. I'm only comfortable doing certain sex scenes, and that's what Blake is saying, which is crazy. But girl, like, you were editing the movie too. And she's so crazy. She actually said this in the actual movie. The purpose of, they said this in the lawsuit, the purpose of the intimacy coordinator is to work with the actors to establish appropriate boundaries based on what is in the script, not to rewrite the script to add more sexual scenes, sexual content to satisfy the director's demands. But you are editing and amending the lawsuit to satisfy you, the actor. Like, girl. So that's that. Can't believe she said that. Yeah, the sexy comment, like, Blake herself even admitted on paragraph 99 that the sexy comment was about his pants, like a woman's pants. It wasn't actually to a woman. Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath were also constantly hugging and touching cast and crew. When Miss Lively or others avoided his touching, Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath would retaliate by becoming irritated. Oh, sorry, wrong paragraph. That's 98. Mr. Baldoni often referred to women in the workplace as sexy. When they expressed discomfort, Mr. Baldoni would deflect or try to pass it off, which undermined Miss Lively's and others' concern. For example, on one occasion that Miss Lively observed, he told a female cast that her leather pants looked sexy when she arrived on set. When she rebuffed his comment, because she was uncomfortable, rather than apologizing, he brushed it off with, I can say that because my wife is here today. I can even picture anybody saying that, not even just, I can even picture anybody even saying that, because that sounds, what does that have to do with you saying sexy? Like, what does your wife on set have to do with you saying sexy? Like, I don't, that's like a weird thing to even say. That's a weird thing to even picture anybody say. Honestly, but Miss Lively felt embarrassed witnessing this kind of commentary, as did others. Defendants have claimed that Mr. Baldoni's description of female cast members as sexy was justified by the fact that, but see, in the same line, in the same page, they acknowledge that Justin is saying that a woman's pants is sexy, not she's sexy. So they say that a woman's pants is sexy in paragraph 99. And then when they actually go to paragraph 100, they go, defendants have claimed that Mr. Baldoni's description of female cast members as sexy was justified by the fact that Miss Lively also sometimes used the word sexy. Yes, Justin Baldoni did say that, but Justin Baldoni said sexy to a pants. So they kind of contradict themselves in the same page. And Blake ended up continuing and says, the word sexy is not inherently inappropriate, but it can be inappropriate in certain contexts. Again, this is very confusing. He's saying that pants look sexy. But I definitely see how that word can be used in a creepy way. So. Okay, I'm just saying. Just gotta tell you. But Blake even says herself, the word sexy is not inherently inappropriate, But it can be inappropriate in certain contexts. Miss Lively or Mr. Baldoni using the word sexy in a creative space related to the plot or in reference to her character is not problematic. Okay. So she's saying that if she's talking about the character or the movie, it's fine to say the word sexy. But when it's... Okay, so that's, again, confusing. Things I'm pointing out to you all that just confusing. Next, the weight and gym. So this is where again, another thing that they've expanded on. This is paragraph 106. So Jessica Baldoni, remember, went to the personal trainer that Blake Lively actually recommended Jessica Baldoni. It's her personal trainer. And he started to follow the recommendation that the personal trainer offered to Jessica Baldoni. And Jessica Baldoni, according to the personal trainer, said that he had a uncomfortable conversation with Jessica Baldoni about Blake Lively's weight. But it's honestly, according to personal trainers and fitness experts in the industry, it's a completely okay thing to ask, especially if it involves one person lifting up another. But Miss Lively includes the personal trainer's response on Instagram to all of this, apparently. So Mr. Baldoni also routinely degraded Miss Lively by finding back channel ways of criticizing her body and weight. Okay, that's... Blake, the lawyers in this case loves to like, and then twist the knife. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like using anything about Jessica Baldoni's character and personality to use it against him. So a few weeks before filming began, less than 4 months after Miss Lively had given birth, Miss Lively was humiliated to learn that Mr. Baldoni secretly called her a fitness trainer without her knowledge or permission and implied that he wanted her to lose weight in 2 weeks. Mr. Baldoni told the trainer that he had asked because he was concerned about having to pick Miss Lively's up in a scene for the movie, but there was no such scene. So the new thing here, not only did Justin ask about Blake Lively's weight, Justin wanted Blake Lively to lose weight in 2 weeks. Where's the evidence? Anyways, in later text messages sent to his team, Mr. Baldoni referred to Miss Lively's trainer as a damn spy and sought to plan stories to portray his concerns as being motivated by his lower back. And the reason why I bring this up is because the fitness trainer ends up then like putting something on Instagram and saying that like the conversation that he had with Jessica Baldoni was actually like, really uncomfortable, and that's why he then ended up going to Blake Lively and be like, "Hey girl, like I had a really uncomfortable conversation with Jessica Baldoni. Just here's what he said." So not only did Blake Lively was told that someone asked about her weight, according to Blake Lively, Jessica Baldoni wanted her to lose weight. Now we're going to deal with the HR stuff. So this is page 41 and 42 now. We're going to page 41 and 42. And this is the really damaging part for Justin Baldoni. Really, really damaging. I'm just going to try to see if I can find... And this is why I love using paragraphs. I don't know why I stopped in this section. I'll find it. But anyways, in regards to HR, so it was quite clear that Blake Lively reached out to Jessica Baldoni to complain about her being uncomfortable, right? She was complaining and saying that like, I'm really uncomfortable. Some other people are also very uncomfortable. So this is what they said. So Miss Lively and it. So Blake Lively keep referencing like a female cast member, but not the actual female cast member's name. But it's weird because Blake Lively also said that these two female cast members that she continuously referenced in the actual lawsuit will end up being her witnesses. So why not drop your name now? They don't want to lose any future opportunities, I'm guessing, or they don't want the backlash. Okay, girls. Okay, so this is what they said. In that conversation with Miss Giannotti, so Miss Giannotti is the Sony rep. So we now know the person that Miss Lively was talking to. Okay. So it wasn't even May 29th was when Justin Baldoni knew about, oh, Blake Lively is complaining about her being uncomfortable. It was way before that, actually. A few days before that, actually. May 24th. On May 24th, both Miss Lively and the female cast member discussed how they were both feeling uneasy on set that day. Miss Lively confided that she felt, quote, like she needs to say something tonight after rap, end quote, but that she's not, quote, not sure how to navigate, end quote. Again, they don't leave text messages. They just do quotes, which is freaking annoying. To which her cast member responded by offering words of support. Same day, Miss Lively, Blake confided in another woman who was mutual friend of Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath, and she said that, I was going to invite you tomorrow on set. Today was nuts. The both of them, I wasn't expecting the turn. It meant it's been present, but today I came home and cried. So Blake Lively came home and cried, which means that she was traumatized by something that she felt uncomfortable on set. So meanwhile, Miss Lively and a female cast member discussed to discuss a plan to speak with Angie Giannotti, who was the Sony rep. Okay, very important. Giannotti, Sony rep, Sony exec. The cast member reached out to Miss Lively to ask if she had talked to Giannotti and informed Miss Lively that her manager knows Giannotti and would be willing to offer support. Here's the problem for Blake. Blake didn't have her cast members report. Blake is filing report on behalf of her cast members, which is insane. You cannot be doing that. You can only file on behalf of yourself. But Blake told the cast member, don't worry, girl. I'll file. Like, I will report us being uncomfortable. So when Miss Lively reached out to Giannotti, who was supportive, Miss Giannotti texted Blake the following: what I did want to review, discuss feels very, very small. In light of today's news, I'm sorry, calling you in moments. So in that conversation with Miss Giannotti on May 26, Blake told her that she wanted to file an HR complaint about both Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's misconduct. Although she was very sympathetic, Giannotti told Blake that Sony, as the distributor of the movie, was not empowered to oversee physical production, which intended Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's behavior on set. Meaning, Justin Baldoni and Wayfair is the boss of everyone. If Blake has an issue with Justin Baldoni or Mr. Heath, Blake has to go to Wayfair's HR or Justin Baldoni or Mr. Heath. Here's the issue. Blake is right here. There was no policies in place to let employees know where they can go if they have an issue with their boss. Wayfair, Justin Baldoni's company, hired Blake. Okay? Where do you go when you feel uncomfortable with your boss? How do you complain? Right? So Giannotti is telling Blake, girl, I can't do anything. I'm just distributing the movie. I'm just helping promoting the movie, girl. I can't really do anything. But Sony ended up telling Justin and Jamie Heath, right? So in the meantime, following all of that, the female cast member also had her managers contact Miss Giannotti to discuss that cast member's own discomfort with behavior. So it looks like the cast member did end up eventually contacting Sony. But why are you contacting Sony? Sony's not your boss, So we have that. So it does look like Sony did write down all of their stories, like all of the experiences that they both had on set. And it looks like they were made to feel uncomfortable by Justin Baldoni. Miss Lively and the female cast member discussed various examples of their uncomfortability and inappropriate interactions with Mr. Baldoni on May 28. Miss Lively explained that her concerns were not just with Mr. Baldoni's behavior, but the way Mr. Baldoni behaved after being confronted with his line-crossing behavior. Quote, Justin keeps referencing it or just disconnects entirely or gets snippy and impatient as a director. He was so huffy after the sexy thing. I felt awful for saying something. So not only is Blake, saying that, I don't know where to turn to, number one, I'm being as harassed or feeling uncomfortable. But number three, when I actually report it, they kind of dismiss it. They don't take it seriously, which it seems like is happening, right? There is no protocol in place. And this is where Justin is going to be in trouble here. Justin's going to be in trouble because there's no protocols in place for employees when they have issues with their own boss when it comes to misconduct. It doesn't have to be harassment. It could be racism. It could be incompetency, like not being competent, like all of these things, like any type of misconduct. There seems to be no protocol in place. So on May 29th, the same female cast member texted Miss Lively to recount a conversation with one of the film's producers about the cast member's own concerns with Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's conduct, and that producer agreed that the situation needed to change. So this is where, Justin Baldoni not only has an issue with the fact that there's no protocol for his own employees when they have an issue with him, what they could do to grieve it, and what is the complaint process. The issue, and the fact that they don't take it seriously. How that could be levied, or kind of how that weight can be taken away, is that when they were actually told by these allegations by Sony, that Sony kind of like downgraded the allegations or kind of watered it down, or did not say the exact state of the allegations. Because remember, in the text message with the Sony exec to Justin, Giannotti said, hey, it's not very sexual in nature, the allegations. They're just uncomfortable with you. Like, stop it. Things need to change. But they were aware. It seems like Sony was aware before May 29th, and Justin was aware on May 29th, it looks like. But I'm pretty sure there was like a conversation with, there was something I referenced. I saw something here too. Yeah. So while the situations are happening, while these like little situations of uncomfortability are happening with Baldoni, Blake Lively or the actor would tell Baldoni, stop doing that. Like, I don't like doing that. Like, so they're kind of aware of it. So they were aware that they were feeling uncomfortable. So it's not like kind of out of the blue. And I posted this take on TikTok, like, Justin is going to be, this is like Justin's problem right here, is proving that, there you have no protocol or systems for when an employee wants to file a complaint against you. And everybody was so mad at me on TikTok. Because everybody's on Justin's side. I'm on no one's side. I'm just trying to understand the puzzle pieces and know the truth. Okay? So that's the issue that Justin has. And Blake has the other issues, which I'll bring about. And the other issue is on paragraph 134, we then find out that Justin Baldoni then hired an external investigatory organization. So investigatory counsel, basically a counsel who does investigation, investigates HR complaints. They actually then hire somebody in January 2025. That's not good, right? You should have done something in 2023, 2024. Either hire an in-house a person who would do those investigations, or hire somebody outside of the organization that can do it for you, like a one-time fee. I know there are a lot of organizations who do that. And the fact that they waited all this long to do it, it doesn't really help Justin's thing in saying that he knew about it, he took it seriously, and he investigated. That's going to be his big issue here. That's going to be the big problem for Justin, okay? Now, and that's why, too, like, even if you think that the S harassment is silly or not serious, at least there should be protocols in place for employees to have the opportunity to complain, to have it looked into, to cover Justin's bum, to, prevent any further liability so people don't end up suing you. So you can say, you know what, it was looked into, because clearly Blake was traumatized. Like, she didn't want to come to work. She went home crying. And that's why you have her husband, Ryan Reynolds, acting God knows crazy, running his mouth, telling everybody and saying that Justin Baldoni is a sexual predator because his wife is experiencing this stuff at home, right? Even if you don't believe it or not, it's clear that she and others felt uncomfortable. And having two witnesses, that's the thing. Justin has to deal with the fact that there's no protocols in place for when people have issues with him, like the boss of Wayfair. And then two, he has two witnesses that are willing to testify against him in court. That's not good. It's not good. No matter how you see it, it's not good. Like, nobody wants anybody, like, even if it doesn't prove to be as harassment legally under the law, nobody wants people, your employees, to go on national TV in front of the world and say how I worked with you and I felt uncomfortable with you. Like, nobody wants that. So that's gonna hurt him. Page 48, we're looking at the whole retaliation of it all is like crazy. Like, if Blake did not take over the entire film, then maybe she has a bit more meat in the retaliation. But like, the retaliation, I really can't see it. Like, even with the dates, it was quite clear that Justin was trying to prep himself because Blake took over the movie, and Blake and all the cast members were acting weird. So he wasn't really thinking about the harassment, and maybe he is, I don't know, but that's kind of how I saw it based off everything I've read so far. But on page 48, it says here, there should be no retaliation of any kind against Blake for raising concerns about the conduct described in the letter, November 9th letter, for these requirements. Any changes in attitude, sarcasm, marginalization, or other negative behavior, either on set or otherwise, including during publicity and promotional work, as a result of these requests, is retaliatory and unacceptable and will met with immediate action. This is going to be an uphill battle for them to climb. I don't know how they're going to prove that everything that Justin did after they edited the movie was retaliatory towards them because she filed as harassment, or she reported as harassment. I do think Justin did all of this because y'all was acting weird. Blake was acting weird, okay? It's going to be an uphill battle. The next thing I want to point out is Justin sent apology letters to each and every person on the cast. Wow, admission of guilt. Is it? Or I don't think it's an admission of guilt, but that's what Blake is saying. I think that I was watching other TikTokers, and there was a TikToker that went viral because she worked with Justin, and she got an email from Justin after she finished working with him, and it was like an amazing email, like, oh, you were great, you were amazing. I think it's that, like, you know how employees or anybody, when you work with somebody, when you send somebody like a thank you note, that was fun. Thank you Thank you for working for me. Thank you for choosing. Like, I think it was kind of like that, like a kind of like a goodbye note. But I don't think it was the admission of guilt. But that is what Blake Lively is taking it as, because it's been quite clear that Justin does that. He sends, goodbye letters, emails. So page 159. So Mr. Baldoni and Wayfair parties have falsely claimed that Miss Lively took over the movie. That's facts, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But as a self-aggrandizing power play, the defendant's entire accusation would rely on Miss Lively and others fabricating malicious claims nearly a year before an edit. Though Mr. Baldoni and Miss Heath repeatedly engaged in inappropriate behavior with witnesses and corroborators in real time, and then even more complicated, their accusation would have required Miss Lively to rely on the hope that Wayfair parties would sign a document acknowledging and agreeing to cease the detailed and specific misconduct described in her claims. after writing letters of apology to other female cast 8 months before. So, yeah. Let me that again. And then, even more complicated, their accusation would have required Miss Lively to rely on the hope that the Wayfair parties would sign a document acknowledging agreeing to cease the details and specific misconduct described in her claims after writing letters of apology to all the and also, most critically, the supposed master plan they absurdly accuse Miss Lively of would rely on the hope that Wayfair would never in the 1.5 years process launch an HR investigation to clear their innocent names, but instead allow their film to be stolen from them. So not only so Justin, like I said, does like goodbye notes to looks like to all of his employees or people that he's worked with, or letters, but Blake Lively's doubling down on the fact that she stole the movie, but not for the reasons that you're saying. It wasn't for this self-aggrandizing power play, even though it was, because do you know what she says next, which is actually so insane? She has so much so much arrogance in regards to it. She's very arrogant. Very, very arrogant. Here's what, oh my God, I'm trying to find it. Okay, let's give me a moment here. Here's what she says. She goes, before Miss Lively sued, Mr. Baldoni and Wayfair parties were perfectly happy to exploit Miss Lively's star power. It's on page 53, by the way, or paragraph 166, as well as her access to A-level filmmakers, editors, and more. And notwithstanding their complaints today that Miss Lively supposedly seized control of Mr. Baldoni's film, that did not stop Mr. Baldoni from proudly marketing the film as his work on release. Indeed, although Mr. Baldoni privately confessed that he did not even see the final cut of the film until the premiere, he repeatedly and publicly took credit for the film. Of course. What is he going to do? Tell the world that he put a lot of money in this movie? Of course he's going to say that, because that's so insane. And they even continue and say the film quickly became Wayfair's most lucrative project to the record-breaking tune of $350 million, reveling in the financial success of the film. They now incredibly accuse Miss Lively of hijacking Miss Sarowitz, which is the billionaire that's financing Wayfair, okay? Boasted in one interview that the film was #1 in the country as of August. The film's impressive 50 million ongoing weekend. Mr. Sarowitz responded that the film had actually grossed 80 million worldwide, about 2.5 times Wayfair expected, remarking, "We thrilled with that. We're thrilled with that." Like, Blake, that's like the craziest thing out of all of this. Do I have anything else to say? Oh, yes. That's the craziest thing about the entire lawsuit, is that Blake Lively is doubling down on the fact that, yes, I definitely stole control of that. Like, you had no issues with me using my A-list actors, my resources, my promotion company. Like, it did well, didn't it? It did well. $350 million. It did well. Like, who cares? That's insane. And I would have at least done a little something different, since if I was you, Blake, I would have been like, I'm still acting in this career, in this industry. Like, I'm still in this industry. I'm not going to go out here and be like, yes, you know what? I definitely stole that movie because it did well. So who cares? That's insane to say. That's arrogance. And I don't know who would want to work with you with that type of arrogance, for you to just say that I took over the entire movie. Now, on to Jed Wallace. Oh, yeah, we talked about Jed Wallace, right? So that's Jed Wallace. So Jed Wallace seems to be doing that. So we know Jed Wallace. So that's pretty much it. We didn't really know a lot of new stuff. They amended it, they expanded things, and they take things back in regards to the causes of action. They're now saying, instead of saying that Justin Baldoni was in charge of, ruining my reputation and career, and says they had it. Now they're saying that not only, he's not just a sole responsible for it. He's not solely responsible, but now they're saying he's partly responsible. You know what I mean? So they've amended it. They've expanded on it. They didn't include text messages. They didn't include screenshots. It's incredibly annoying. I don't know how in the world they don't have that, but based off of what I'm guessing, based on what I'm reading and analyzing, is due to the fact that I think these actors, so Jenny Slate and Isabella Ferrer and the other actors, they don't want their names on this on this lawsuit, on this entire drama, just so they can continue to work, because this lawsuit will take at least a year to finish, right? It's going to take a long time, and they want to be signed to a lot of projects, a lot of contracts, a lot of things. So it's going to ruin them financially, or, you know what I mean, professionally. So this drama isn't necessarily like a good thing to have with your name, especially if someone Googles you. So there's that. I don't know why Blake said all that in regards to taking over the movie. I don't know how she's going to end up working again. Like, that's the thing. What is she going to do? Only work with Sony moving forward? Apparently she needs authorship to be part of the movie or be part of any project. So she's going to have to find people who want to share authorship. But anyways, Justin hasn't, like I said, he's in trouble. He doesn't have any systems in place for when his employees finds him to be in fault when it comes to misconduct. And he has 2 witnesses, 2 girls who are willing to witness on his behalf. So the lawsuit helped fill in a little bit more gaps. Now that both amended lawsuits are in, now they're going to put motions to, they're going to be like, oh, this part of the amended complaint, I want to take this out. I want to put in a motion to have this one taken out. I like this part of the lawsuit. They're going to basically figure out all the facts, put it all together, line it all together. Once everybody has agreed upon the state of the facts and all the evidence and everything that has happened, then we can go into discovery, and then we can claim on what we want to get more information on. Like, what should we get more information on in regards to the finalized amended complaints, right? And then once they go into discovery and find more information, then they can be able to figure out what they want to settle on. If they want to, then they can figure out if they want to go back into mediation, because the trial is not going to happen until next year. Okay. So this gives them a year to try to, figure out the finalized version of these complaints, go into discovery, and try to settle. I do not think having a trial would benefit any of them. Okay, Blake Lively's career is not, I'm going to say this, Blake Lively's reputation is not looking great. People do not like Blake Lively. And Justin Baldoni, a lot of people do like Justin Baldoni, but at the end of the day, he did make people, it does seem like he has not only Blake Lively, but 2 other women actors coming out and say that you made me feel uncomfortable. Now, when it comes to harassment, how do you prove that? It has to be severe or pervasive. The harassment has to be severe or pervasive, and it has to change the conditions of the employment. Now, Blake changed the conditions of the employment, but I don't know how they're going to prove harassment. But the thing is, you don't have to prove harassment to prove that her reporting it was retaliatory or whatever it is, right? That they're trying to say retaliatory or defamed Blake. But they're going to go after that anyways. They're going to try and prove the harassment. Good luck. But yeah, that's it right now. I think it's interesting. I do think I'm gonna be back here real soon. Definitely for Love is Blind, the most boring season facing the planet. I'll be giving you those takes for tomorrow. And then I do think my Mr. Friedman, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, will have a lot to say in regards to these amended complaints. So I'll be back here soon. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, to leave your comment down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh my God, I'm so thirsty. And what, yeah, I don't say, yeah. So I'm going to say, stay healthy and stay safe. Love ya. Bye.